Okay, let's dive into this. We're about to break down one of the most challenging and, let's be honest, most feared hurdles on the path to becoming a lawyer. It's a single test that can make or break a career, and in this explainer, we are going to crack the code. You know, if you ask any law student this question, you're pretty much going to get the same answer: the bar exam. But it's not even the whole thing. For most people, the real beast is a very specific, daunting part hiding right at its heart.
And that final hurdle is what we're focusing on. Based on the fantastic guide MBE Exam Prep, we're going to completely demystify the multi-state bar examination, or as you probably know it, the MBE.
So, what is it really? Well, the MBE isn't just a test of what you've memorized. It's a test of how you think like a lawyer. It's designed to see if you can take these fundamental legal rules and apply them to messy, complicated situations, all while the clock is ticking.
To really get a handle on what you're up against, you have to look at the numbers. And trust me, they tell a pretty dramatic story about how this exam is built.
First, just the sheer volume. You're staring down 200 multiple-choice questions. They're split into 2 grueling 3-hour sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. This is absolutely a test of mental endurance.
But here's where it gets interesting. Even though you answer 200 questions, only 175 of them actually count towards your score. The other 25? They're basically experimental questions for future exams. The catch is, you have no way of knowing which is which. So you have to treat every single question like it's the real deal. This one really illustrates the intense pressure you're under. When you do the math, it comes out to just 1.8 minutes for each question. That's only 108 seconds to read a complex scenario, figure out the legal issue, analyze the options, and pick the best answer. Time management isn't just important here. It's everything.
So what in the world are they testing you on in those 200 questions? Well, the entire exam is built around 7 foundational subjects of the law.
The test is divided perfectly evenly across these 7 core subjects: civil procedure, con law, contracts, crim law, evidence, real property, and torts. With exactly 25 scored questions for each one, there's just nowhere to hide. You've got to have a solid, balanced knowledge across the board.
Okay, so knowing the format and the subjects, that's one thing. But anyone who's passed this thing will tell you conquering the MBE takes a really smart, disciplined strategy. It's all about working smarter, not just harder. And that brings us to what might be the single most important piece of advice from our source material. The MBE rewards a deep understanding of the law, not just memorizing a ton of facts. You have to get how these legal rules actually work and connect in the real world, because just trying to recall random details is a recipe for disaster.
So how do you build that deep understanding? With a plan. The guide lays out this awesome 10-week approach. You spend the first 3 weeks just building that strong foundation, reviewing the 7 subjects. Then, weeks 4 to 6, you start doing regular practice questions to get accurate. Weeks 7 and 8, you ramp up the volume, mixing subjects together just like on the real exam. Then, weeks 9 and 10 are all about simulating the full exam experience, timed and everything. And that final week, that's for a last-minute review and, just as importantly, staying fresh.
And finally, when the big day gets here, it's all about execution. You can do all this prep, but it can go to waste if you're not ready for the day itself. The guide really stresses these simple, practical tips that make a huge difference. You know, get a good night's sleep, show up early, wear layers so you're comfortable. And during the test, it's all about managing your time, using process of elimination to your advantage, and, maybe most importantly, staying calm.
So now you get it. You know what the MBE is, how it's structured, and the strategy you need to attack it. But putting all those pieces together for what is, let's face it, a massive challenge is way easier when you have a clear roadmap.
I love this quote from the guide because it's a powerful way to reframe this whole experience. Don't look at the MBE as just some obstacle you have to get over. See it as an opportunity. It's a chance to prove you have the skills that make a great lawyer: solid reasoning, sharp analysis, and the ability to perform when it counts. Think of it as your first big professional test.
And to help you on that journey, the resource we've been using for this explainer, MBE Exam Prep, gives you that complete roadmap. It's packed with practice questions and super detailed strategies for everything we've just talked about. If you're ready to conquer the exam, it's available right now on Amazon. Oh, and there's also an audio version narrated by Tom Brooks on Audible.com, which is perfect for studying on the go. Armed with the right strategy, you really can turn this final hurdle into your first professional victory.